We're funded. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Drexel Free Thought Society Weekly Podcast. This is the Homeschooling Chat portion, and we invite and encourage anyone to tune in to the Spreaker, join our live chat. You can also call us at Drexel Free Thought. That's our username on Skype. Just call in via Skype. You can request contact with us, and you'll instantly go through. It's fine. You can also email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com. Alright. We're going to start moving into a slightly different direction. Why exactly is homeschooling bad?
May I play the devil's advocate?
Sure!
All right.
The horns.
I'll get my hammer and some rocks.
Okay.
I'm the devil, by the way, and you're my advocate.
Go ahead.
There are a couple cases where I do think it might be semi-beneficial. For example, I read an article one time about this family, and they basically live in an RV, and they homeschool their kids. But here's the thing, though. Every single teaching opportunity, they go to the place where, for example, if they're learning about colonial times, they'll go to Colonial Williamsburg to learn about, or if they're learning about geology, they'll go to the Grand Canyon and be like, oh, yeah, see, this is where,
How do you live in a trailer and able to afford any of that?
Well,
Maybe they're very frugal.
you drive around in your RV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Some people buy RVs
Some people
instead.
live in RVs.
Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
That's a
They're
horrible
not
gas
all
waste.
white trash.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
Well, and think of it this way: they're not wasting coal money on a house.
Well, then they're also wasting thousands of dollars a week on gas.
Because how many times they move.
They get about 15
There's
feet per
trailer
gallon.
parks, though. There's literally, trailer parks.
I'm aware of trailer parks.
Well, then they're not wasting gas.
Yes, they are, because then what is their electricity powered from?
Chicken.
Wishful thinking. Anyway,
Go ahead.
I understand, and that's definitely a good situation,
Right.
but that's not the topic.
Yeah, but that's homeschooling.
I suppose.
That's homeschooling.
Yeah, and I'll play the anti-devil's advocate.
I
Okay.
think that's Dante.
What? I don't care. Anyway, you claim to be Jesus Christ.
Just talk.
Okay. And feel free, anybody can call in at any time. You'll instantly get preferential treatment. It's perfectly fine with us. Social interaction.
That's what I was about to get.
If you drive around in an RV your whole life, how do you possibly make friends?
Oh, I know.
And you'll kind of go into the real working world or something and go, oh, so I'm going to be friends with my family.
Yeah.
It's like you can't really. I don't see where you can make the transition between, oh, I make really good friends with my family, therefore I have every social skill that has ever existed.
Can I play Captain Obvious for a second, please?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Devil's Advocate, Captain Obvious.
So
Richard?
it would appear that with homeschooling and public schooling or private schooling, whatever the case may be, whether it is what we consider good or bad depends on not just on what they're being taught and how they're being taught, but the environment. You look at public schools. Now you can start comparing public schools. Like this public school, this environment is horrible. As compared to this public school, this environment is awesome. You have to look at many factors. You can look at the faculty and the teachers. You can look at the amount of security. You can even look at the neighborhood that they're in. All those different things dictate whether something is good or bad. How involved parents are as far as public schools are concerned. Now, homeschooling. Now, you can use the example I used earlier with my two little cousins, where they have not only their mother helping them, but they're also, talking to their teachers and other students via computer, which is a totally different environment from just going outside, recess and sitting in classroom with other kids. Or you can have the case where you have the parent that is just teaching them, all this misinformation, miseducation, indoctrination.
Jesus camp.
Yeah, basically. So you have to, when it comes to homeschooling, not just what they're being taught and how they're being taught, but the environment that the schooling is taking place in is a big thing you should look at.
Ooh, can I play Richard?
Yes.
Sure,
Okay.
Richard. You play Richard.
Alright. Here's the thing.
It's uncanny. He looks just like Richard.
Sounds like him too.
So here's the thing. I understand what you're saying about social aspects, even though I have Asperger's. I think it's extremely important to understand that you are going to be interacting with other people no matter what your job is.
Yes, like one.
But here's the thing. A lot of public school education that you get is corrupted, not only by government, not only by corporate interests, not only by, wanting to get the kids just to pass through school. The point in education is not to regurgitate stuff, but it is to gain an interest for something that I have said before. And I think as an autodidactic learner, along with private education, which didn't teach me squat except for emotional stuff, as a autodidactic learner, I've found a lot more help in learning from professionals on the internet. Now, I hate the saying that people tell me, oh, not everything on the internet is true. Well, duh! Of course it's not true. Not everything on the internet is true.
It does give you a really good opportunity to, but that's the problem.
It also gives you a good opportunity to build your critical thinking skills. Let's say I was going to go on this one person's website that's talking about how evolution is wrong, and he just happens to be Ted Haggard. I can look up who Ted Haggard is, or I can ask people who Ted Haggard is, and then
the answer is an idiot.
And then I can
disagree. He's the smartest man
a different source, maybe on the same subject. On the same subject by Professor Richard Dawkins or something. Now, I understand that evolution is not both true and not true at all. It's like saying, like, on the internet, not everything on the internet is true, so therefore you're not going to learn from the internet. That's basically saying, like, okay, you think that I'm this way, that I go online and I see one thing says 1 + 1 = 2, and one thing says 1 + 1 = pi. I'm not going to believe in both things. I'm going to use my head and my brain to differentiate between the good and bad.
It's about the evidence.
Richard has spoken.
Yeah. That critical thinking. You know how to think, not what to think. You can sit here and tell a kid 1 + 1 = 2, and they regurgitate it. But why does 1 + 1 = 2? Why does 2 + 2 = 4? Why is 2 × 3 = 6?
That's a really, really complicated proof.
Well, you can always do it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, at least with basics. At least you can go down to basics with these different things, especially in science. Like evolution, you can break it down.
Oh, you could. I love teaching evolution.
I'm sure.
And I'm not even that good at it, and I absolutely adore explaining it.
So
No, you explain it very well, actually. So I would give yourself some more credit.
But I understand it. Go ahead.
Anyway, Richard brings up a lot of important points. That there are situations where personal education is far more effective and far more necessary than anything else. But the problem in there lies, young children, unless they are instilled early to have a passion for learning, then it won't matter. Children are extremely malleable. And that's why I hate that a lot of conversations like this seem to end this way. It seems you need a little of both. You need to have a strong home support system for your education, but you need strong public schools. Because if nothing else, there are parents who work 5 jobs that, even if they are the gleaming god of all things having to do with parents, there are only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't, and there's only so many calories you can burn before you collapse on the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Like,
time.
It is time, and it is complicated, and you, like I said, you can be the most wonderful parent in the world, and you still can't do everything. But
and there's some really crappy parents out there who are strung out on...
I agree, but the yes, actually, that's a really good point. Is there are just crappy parents that are just like, for the love of God, just get my kid out of here so I can, I don't know, party or whatever.
Which is what happens around here all the time.
But the idea is having a well-functioning, regulated, enforced public school system for the bad parents. There's your kid gone for like 5 to 8 hours a day.
And that might be their only chance to like actually get out of their situation.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of kids that are just like, oh, the public schools are terrible, then I have to stay in my house all day because my parents are gone, and if I leave, I could get killed.
No, I mean, again, like my mom's... Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, this isn't even getting into the concepts between crime and lack of education. Also, I know, I keep rattling on. I'll be done in a second.
Okay.
It's like, there's a lot of issues that come into public education. If you're not educated, crime increases. If you're not educated... sexual issues start coming up. Poverty increases. And that's not just even it's knowing how to get a job.
Violence.
Not even being educated enough to do the job properly. It doesn't matter. It's just everything goes down when education goes down. Education is the hallmark of everything.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm such an advocate.
I agree. You need education. You need clean drinking water. You need education.
Wait,
lack of education.
No, she's been waiting.
I mean, like, you know, as I said before, my mom's a guidance counselor, and I remember she told me one time, one of her students said, she's like, you know, for Thanksgiving break, I have to be home from school for, like, a week. She's like, do you realize how much that sucks? Because, like, her home life was just so crappy. You know, like, that was, like, public school was literally her only, you know, out. Like,
the same thing happened to me, except I was going to private school.
Right.
So...
And this is the problem. This just leads back into problems with homeschooling. Is if you have an agenda, if there are parents with agendas, there are parents with hazardous agendas, ones where they are dictated for their entire life to have as many children as possible and control everything that they learn. So then they make basically perpetuating clones of very bad situations. And the problem is, this doesn't even have to be people with direct agendas. Like Philadelphia, I guess it's not a counterculture. There's like Dante, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a culture of like anti-education in Philadelphia.
Yes, and in some
Yeah.
communities, being schooled is looked down upon.
No snitching.
Well, not even that, but I mean, it's just going to school is like, oh, you're trying to be better than us, or
yes,
or not even that. It's like. It's just anti-intellectualism.
Especially with the whole anti-nerd, anti-geek. I mean, that's always been around, but in Philadelphia, it's very prevalent, especially in I hate using race, but in minorities. Like for example, if a person like me was, you know, if I was raised the same way as I've been in the hood, like if I was raised in, you know, what they call the hood, the really bad neighborhoods of Philadelphia, and I was raised around a bunch of other kids who had parents who just don't care, and I was that one guy who wanted to make sure I got to school and make sure I got good grades and everything, I would be looked down upon. I would be ridiculed. Actually, I was bullied mercilessly just for coming to school with my own books. Like, whenever I was done with my schoolwork, I would open up my book bag and read my own books. And kids would look at me, and they'd be like, what's wrong with him? Oh, he's just an effing nerd, and blah, blah, blah. And they would say something was wrong with me. They just did not like that. If this was in middle school, if you weren't a kid, a boy, you know, chasing and talking to girls, even in middle school, you know, talking to girls and everything,
I believe you.
You were seen as either gay. They threw the gay thing out there. You were seen there was something wrong with you. You were just a nerd. You were outcast. You don't belong with us. And I've gotten that a whole lot.
See, that would just be great to turn around and just go, oh, I don't belong with you? Fantastic. Have a nice day.
Yeah, I would actually do that. I would just go, so, and I go right back to my book. And then that's when they would do something like try to take my book from me, stuff like that. So, yeah,
because you're different than
Yeah, exactly.
You're different than them.
Exactly.
Kids are just unnaturally cruel.
No, because there's reasons for it. And it's not a lot of times it isn't actually, I want to be horrible to this person. Wahaha! Their sadness brings my heart warmth. There's a lot of situations.
There's different avenues.
There's one thing that's just like a big thing I would imagine in like educated children.
Excuse me.
Is like, oh, if that kid is smarter than me, that kid is more successful than I am. That kid will move farther in life than I probably ever will. I have to make them feel as bad as I do.
Or it's the crab in the barrel mentality, actually.
What is that?
Or basically, if you're, again, I'm going to use the hood because this happens a lot. If you are excelling, you're doing very good. You're doing very good at your job. You're doing very good at your school. And you have a bunch of friends or peers. I'm not going to say friends because friends don't do that. Peers who were born in the same situation as you were. But they're not going anywhere. They want to bring you down with them. That whole misery loves company, that's the whole crab's a barrel. Like, if you ever watch a barrel of crabs, you see that one crab that's trying to climb out, and a bunch of other crabs grabbing him and pulling him down. It's basically the same thing. And it's part of that anti-education culture you're talking about.
And that's like a really scary analogy, because all those crabs are going to get eaten later.
Exactly.
Or maybe they're just trying to climb on top of all the crab.
So you're saying the upper classes are cannibals?
If you use that analogy, they technically are. They'll either make you assimilate with them, or they will destroy you. I know those.
Yeah, going in a different direction there, but there is a concept of just. I just keep repeating myself. Just anti-intellectualism among children,
right?
And this is why I go back to the original statement of everything starts in the home. Is even if you can't physically teach your children all the things that they should learn, you can help guide them in the direction so they can learn them themselves. And that's the responsibility of parents. And that's why, in conjunction with a well-regulated, well-funded public school system, with inspiring, fantastic teachers being paid generously.
That's okay. Yes, let's talk.
Oh yeah,
about
let's
that.
go with that. All
okay.
right. So if you're homeschooled, you have whatever your parents' income is being part of their motivation to stay home and teach you.
Right.
Because they're able to, because they're wealthy, or that they're in a situation where one of the parents is able to do this.
Uh-huh.
If you're in a public school, the parents, quote unquote, the teachers in that situation, are not paid well. It's like, I remember it's like a single hedge fund manager makes as much money as like 22,000 teachers.
In an hour.
In a year.
I mean, the thing of it is, we pay, I realize, this is just, the nature of capitalism, unfortunately, but, we pay, we pay sports stars so much,
No, they pay sports stars because they bring in advertisements.
Right. And we pay lawyers so much. And I'm not saying that doctors don't do things, doctors don't deserve their salary. They do. But why don't we pay, these are the people who are dealing with our kids' brains and leading them. Why do we not pay them as much as a doctor?
It's like, you know who is paid, you know who does a similar job, who is paid enough? Preachers! Preachers are paid generously by their constituents.
I could tell
and they mold those little heads very easily.
Why this is all happening, but it will take too long.
Tell us later.
I know in Sweden or
save it for your blog.
I remember reading this somewhere, in certain countries like Sweden and stuff, they pay teachers just as well as a doctor or a lawyer.
Do you know what it should? Do you know what it should be?
What?
If say the government is sitting next to a teacher, the entire government, anthropomorphized into somebody, it would just be like, oh, excuse me, U.S. government, I'm going to become a teacher after I graduate. You're becoming a teacher? How much money do you want? It's
why are people not honored?
So it's what's a teacher? I teach I educate children. I'm especially interested in teaching young children. Really? Well, you're getting tax breaks.
Yeah, honestly, why are you not respected as much as a doctor?
But cultural. But part of it's cultural.
But here's the thing.
Part of it's cultural, and part of it's the anti-intellectualism of our society. We want children to be as stupid as possible so they'll be compliant.
I agree with that sentiment, but here's the thing. Some people getting that idea that teachers could make a lot, which they don't make hardly anything now, but if they got the idea, I can make a whole lot of money if I become a teacher. Why are they going to become a teacher then? Money.
And I also think that there should be stricter regulations. I think they should get rid of tenure. and I know I'm gonna get
I'm on board.
Let me totally 100% on board with that.
Like that teacher I told you about
there was
earlier.
an awful perverted teacher that was tenured in my high school. He didn't teach at all anymore, and he leered at all of the teenage girls.
God.
And he was tenured. You couldn't fire him.
What the heck?
The same thing happened in
To be fair, you can revoke tenure, but it's difficult.
It's so hard.
But that's the idea. Is I agree. Tenure is just like, I don't remember how tenure started, but it's just kind of, I understand the need for it in certain situations. It's kind of like, it's because a lot of times people that handle the money don't understand how like professors' research works. Right. So if it goes like 2 years without any progress, it's like, that's going to happen. Yeah. It's not my fault you don't understand how science works.
Or, if you have some evangelical guy who's running your college and you want to do stem cell research or something, you should still be allowed to do that, even if...
Actually, if that person's running that college, go to a better college.
Yeah. But that was the example my government teacher gave when he was talking about tenure.
But the general idea of tenure just doesn't seem like it. It doesn't make any sense anymore.
Every good teacher I've had a really crappy teacher.
For every good teacher I've had 6 very bad teachers.
Yeah, like hold them to a higher standard, and reward the ones who are doing a really good job. And I'm not just talking about, I'm not just talking about test scores, etc.
No, it's like you need to have they used to do this all the time, and I don't know why it hasn't happened anymore. A teacher, of someone from the district, would come in and just watch a class. Mm-hmm. And they would just be like, oh, so this is how you teach, I'm marking you down, but the problem is we'd have to completely reformat the way that we regulate education.
Oh, what's wrong with that?
Okay then.
Both my grandparents were teachers. Both of my grandparents were teachers, and my grandfather once jumped the ranks from a really low, and he wasn't even a teacher yet, and then he became a financial advisor for a school before he became a physics teacher in his high school that he worked at. And he said that the education system, even back then, was highly revolved around politics. Not about how you could do your job, but who you knew. Just like business, just like government, just like everything else. And that's how we're a little bit too far into this culture of extroversion instead of introversion, and knowing and understanding what you can do. And a lot of a lot of private schools, they're more about extroversion because they want to teach their kids about their religion or something else like that. Mm-hmm. But if it were more suited and geared to introversion, understanding the world for what it is, giving them the basics like 1 + 1 is 2, and then letting them go and asking them what they could do and asking them what they want to do, then that would be better. Unfortunately, we don't have that. And unfortunately, our work schedules for most full-time people is kind of ridiculous. Mm-hmm. We have most people working 8 hours a day full-time. I mean, I'm a kid, I can do that. But if you're an adult and you have kids at home, that's not a good idea.
I think it's France is a place that I heard that did this. They are not allowed by law to work over 30 hours a week.
Yeah, and
what's even makes it almost adorable is you're required to have a 45-minute nap. It's something like that, and I'm just forgive me, France, if I'm incorrect.
Sorry about that, guy.
Or whatever country I'm actually talking about, but it's just that's magic.
And then
Google did this.
Yeah, and then
Google requires you to play during the day for an hour or something, and their profits and job satisfaction are through the roof.
Right.
If you don't want to play,
then keep working. If you are relaxed by working, keep working.
But I mean, and they've gotten rid of unemployment, etc. Through that because you're not working so much or whatever. They're able to get more people in the company who are working the hours you're not working.
So let's see. We would increase job satisfaction, we'd increase profits, and we'd increase employment.
We'd also we'd also higher the value of the dollar.
Oh, and we'd fix our economics. All right, we solved the country. Let's go.
Can I throw in just an arbitrary, not thought out idea? What if we paid?
That's all we are.
Okay. What? Because I didn't think of this through. I just think it was an idea. What if homeschool teachers were paid?
Wait, that makes no sense.
That's what I was saying.
Talk louder.
That's why I didn't think about it.
No, it's like having homeschooled, like
the government sends you money for what?
Yeah, that's like a dangerous version of vouchers. It's like, I'm teaching my kid, give me money.
Now, and the thing is, how would they show proof on teaching their kids?
Standardized tests, because they work, don't they?
They
perfectly gauge educational level.
They already have that for homeschooling.
I'm sorry, I'm going to just viciously interrupt because I'm the president and I get to do that.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry, keep going.
Obama. I'm just kidding. What about that? I mean, there is like a standard for homeschooling. I mean, you can...
I know, you do have to basically, like, your GED test, you have to do all these things.
But you're also allowed to teach whatever you want to the kid, and that's, kind of bad depending on what you're teaching.
There's like a South white supremacy movement for a while, and kids are being homeschooled and teaching that all of history is a lie. The Holocaust was created by the Jews. It's like that sort of situation.
I'm angry now.
6 million people on the earth just disappeared.
No, those people didn't actually disappear.
They just didn't exist.
That's what the lie is. No, it's not that it didn't exist. It's just they didn't die. That's the lie that's written in the history books.
I'm surprised they don't actually.
This is what people are being taught.
I'm surprised that these white supremacist movements do not go as far as basically teaching that the Nazis were good. I'm surprised by that.
Some of them do.
A lot, yeah. Have you seen people, with the
swastika?
The swastika on their arms, or
skinheads.
Skinheads, there's Nazi supporters out there.
You mean the people that have one brain cell?
Yes.
Yes.
If you're interested,
I mean, I have a brain cell. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you're interested in this topic, there's a documentarian who I really like named Louis Theroux, and he did.
I know him.
Yes, he's awesome.
He went to the
post the gentleman and something that he's done on our Facebook page.
He went to the KKK and
he did a documentary,
okay for a Jew.
And they're like, and he did a documentary called Louis Meets the Nazis, and where he spent time with these white supremacist groups who live in the United States. I mean, it was kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie.
It's actually kind of funny because the head person, you could tell that he didn't care anymore. He was like,
oh yeah. I mean, he would spout all these racist things or whatever, but then, he's like, okay, let's go out to a bar, and he's like, and then, the guy's narrating, he's like, I was very confused when the bar he took me to was mostly non-white.
That was funny.
Anywho, we talked a while ago about alternatives to our current educational system, and although paying teachers more money is definitely a step in the right direction, a big reason that I see that people are turning away from our educational system is not completely because they're insane, even though that is a reason. People do leave our educational system because they're like, you're teaching evolution? You're teaching us gays are actually people? We can't have that to be taught to our children.
Personal biases.
Yeah, there's personal biases of the parents, but there's also just our failing educational system, as Dante was pointing out. And there are alternatives to it. One thing that I'm getting progressively more of a supporter of is open education. I think it's called open education.
What is it?
It's kind of like you are graded on your performance, not by, or what you are able to show that you learned, not by testing.
So by effort instead of achievement? Maybe?
Basically.
Huh.
It's kind of if you really know a subject, you can explain it really well.
Oh, yeah.
You can have a conversation about it. You can prepare interesting projects.
Sure.
And that is what you're graded on. That's how you graduate. It's not that you're like, oh, I got straight A's. It's, oh, I understand the series of topics.
Right. And there was this one college I remember I visited, and they said,
right after you.
And they said, we don't take SAT scores. We look at GPA. We look at your transcript, etc. And I think that says so much more than just a number on a test, because some people have test anxiety, like I used to. I'll come up front, I used to freak the hell out, when I was taking tests. So go ahead, Dom.
I just get bored. It's just like, why am I doing this?
I don't know how the school system was back when I was in first grade, but I do recall that on the report cards, my middle school and high school report cards look vastly different from my elementary report cards. So my elementary school report cards, and I don't know how I remember this, they had 2 sections. You got 2 grades for each subject. You had effort and you had achievement. And most of the time, my effort was like way better than my achievement. Like I would get like straight A's and B's on effort, and for achievement, I'll get a couple of A's, a few B's, maybe that occasional C. So I'm not sure why they changed that, or was that just for elementary school? I don't know what the idea is.
A lot of elementary school is social development. Is what people grade you on. Is like, do you play well with others?
They do that. Actually, they do that in middle school and high school. They have a number, like a 1, a 2, or a 3 for behavior next to your letter grade. But in elementary school, they gave you effort, achievement. They didn't base you on your behavior or anything. So I do agree with like how you explain stuff, and like you were saying about tests. I'll be honest with you. Like
tests don't show that you learned anything.
No, it just shows you regurgitated.
Yeah.
Especially more because a lot of times I do poorly on tests, even on things that I know about. But I can sit here and explain to you these certain concepts. But there are all these concepts that you want me to throw up back at you. That it's just by memory alone, I'm not going to be able to accomplish it.
It's like a good you can have a lot like engineering is a very big number field. Like, you need to know physics, you need to know mechanics, you need to know all these complicated things.
Yeah.
But you don't learn them for the purpose of repeating them to people. You learn this information for the purpose of building stuff.
But then there's the...
And one second. It's like a way to show that you understand is by building something that works. And the same thing could easily be applied to other fields. Like, I could go on and on. Like, if you're an English major, you could go on and on about which verb tense you're supposed to use in this situation. But if you don't know how to write, then what the hell are you an English major for?
Or even if you do try to build that one thing and it doesn't exactly work, you can at least come up with a good hypothesis as to why you think it didn't work.
No, and then you have a conversation about it, and then you improve it. Because especially the applied sciences, like engineering, is you're going to fail. And the idea is you fail when it's not important. So when you build that building, it'll actually work. But you don't build that building by taking a test. You build that building by doing tests, by testing your hypotheses, by building models, by having collaborative enterprises.
And that's why I prefer writing papers. But
writing papers.
I prefer writing papers.
Yeah.
As strenuous as they are, they actually showcase your comprehension much better than saying, what is this? A, B, C, D, or E.
And actually, a bit of information coming from our good friend Ellen is one of the pros of homeschooling is that children can learn at a faster or slower pace if they need to. And that is actually a very good point, because our current school system, a lot of the other things are things we already went over. But it also goes into you can end up learning way ahead of your grade level if you're actually good at it. Or stay behind. If I'll admit that I was behind in math when I was in middle school. I probably should have relearned my basic algebra, but I didn't because I couldn't.
Right.
I was able to pass, but I still didn't understand it well enough, and it's been hurting me since then. I'm behind in math still.
Yeah.
But anyway, the idea is that we need to change our system so that if there are people learn at their own pace, even if they're in the same class, in a lot of the gifted programs that I was fortunate enough to be able to be part of, that's how it worked. People had the same general projects that you worked in each class, but you learned at your own pace and you accomplished at your own pace. And the teachers were facilitators. I don't remember a class where the teacher stood up in front of us and talked for the entire class. They were just like, here's the project, here's some information on the project, do it. And we're like, okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Richard.
I really, 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 really like biology a lot.
Good.
But
I approve of this like.
But here's the thing. If, Dante were to speak to me about, something really complicated in biology, it'd probably go over my head only if he was being really interesting about it. Because I don't understand the intricate dynamics behind it, but I understand a broad sense of the thing, and I want to learn more about the intricate dynamics behind it. Do you think it's a good idea to have a broad sense and what you might be interested in, but you don't want to actually go into for a career, like an elective of some sort?
I'm taking a minor in biology, and not because I want to be a biologist, because I find biology an incredible inspiration for engineering.
Yeah.
I will go out on a bold limb and say that scientific literacy needs to improve in this nation.
Oh, hallelujah!
Well, I'll be really honest with you. Like,
Amen.
Almost all
Praise Satan.
Almost.
Wow.
Almost all my secondary education.
Don't praise
science,
Satan. He doesn't exist.
He's a douche.
All my secondary science teachers were really bad. Like they, like a lot of them were there for the paycheck. Like, they were.
Was this especially with sciences?
Yeah. I don't know whether it was just my district or what, but okay. 7th grade, the guy showed movies all the time. 8th grade, the guy was actually really good. I really, really liked him. 9th grade, I was in 2 science classes. One of them was an elective, and the guy was on verge of retirement, and he just had us do bookwork. I pretty much learned nothing. And the other class was a physics class, and the lady who was teaching it had just graduated from college, had no idea what she was doing, could not control a class. I think we covered about 3 chapters that year.
Wow.
So, sophomore year, we did chemistry. He was very passionate about it, but as the year went through, he got more and more frustrated with us, and he kind of stopped trying a little bit. And then 11th grade biology, teacher didn't give a crap.
I recommend taking some intro classes here.
Yeah.
We have some very good science teachers.
I mean, the only teacher, like 8th grade, I had a really good science teacher, and then maybe 10th grade, was my chem teacher. He was...
You keep just highlighting reasons why our public education system is awful. And unfortunately, this tends to lend... This goes back to my original thing about fire. This lends credence to the idea that we should just drop the educational system we have now and just everyone homeschool their children. We can't do that.
No, because some parents
are
not equipped to homeschool their kids.
And private schools have agendas.
Yes.
We need to stop. I was about to say, we need to make our public schools stop having agendas and start actually caring about the kids.
How do we do that?
We've been discussing it for the last 2 hours.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I've tried to educate people on this stuff, but a lot of people don't want to listen because they're too distracted by cultural nonsense.
Well,
I will happily educate people on any science things I know of.
Well, I think that the whole thing is that you have to have a passion for it. You have to enjoy it.
And that's why you need people to do that. It's
like motivation.
3rd grade.
Well, the teachers that go into teaching, some of them don't even have passions for it, so
I know
that's a problem.
No, and here's the idea:
which makes no sense to me.
There is an entire field now that is like technology education. It's basically how to teach engineering to children, because engineering is really hard to teach to children.
I would not.
And in 3rd grade, first robotics. First stands for the inspiration and recognition of science and technology.
Wow, that's a nice acronym.
And it's one of my favorite organizations in the world. And what they did is when I was in 3rd, maybe 2nd grade, their robotics team visited my elementary school, and they brought their robot. It's a 6-foot tall robot that put balls. It's a competition. And they put like these giant balls in above, like the entire robot turned into an elevator, effectively dropping these balls into a bin. And I was just
cool.
like,
Wow.
and when I saw this, I was like, I am joining that club in high school.
Right. Well, I remember even in elementary school, like they had the high schoolers come over and play orchestra pieces or whatever. And they're like, yeah, join the orchestra. Like,
it's
you know,
these are more things
this is what you can do.
It's like we need more ways to have the arts and the sciences become engaging to children.
I was an odd little child.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard.
I will elaborate on that later.
But the idea is that, like, one of the reasons I love FIRST Robotics is, competition breeds animosity, generally. Not in FIRST Robotics. I'm going to explain this really briefly. This is a statewide, national competitions where people team up in teams of 3 generally against another team of 3. 3 different teams, and they're randomized in the beginning of which teams you're going to be with. So this means your enemy will be your ally next game, possibly.
Wow.
And the thing is the hallmark of this competition is gracious professionalism. People have opened up their little shop, their area that they're in, to repair other people's robots.
Wow.
Because obviously it is partially self-serving. Those people could be your teammates later. But at the same time, something you have could break and you might not know how to fix it.
Kind of like
and it's everyone wants to help each other. Because
That's
they also have, effectively, who's the best helper award at the end of the game. It has a much better name, but I forget what it is at the moment. But it's this is a competition, this is an educational competition, and it promotes everything that I want public schools to have.
It's social.
It is a social thing, it is a party, it is a competition where robots wail on each other. It promotes science, it promotes education, it promotes cooperation, and everyone walks away happy.
I also think that they should teach not only foreign languages, which that's the thing about me being an odd little child. I was into that, and I actually know, I'm starting to forget most of it, Japanese and German. But I also think that in elementary school, we should teach kids basic programming skills and teach them from elementary school all throughout high school.
I agree. Or at the very least, have more, actually have electives when you're in elementary school.
But the reason why because that teaches logical thinking. Not critical thinking, but logical thinking.
Yeah,
there should be critical and logical thinking, because
it's amusing that those aren't actually the same thing.
No, us as human beings, we make beautiful art and beautiful poetry and beautiful films because we're imperfect. But at the same time...
It's true. That's a driving force.
Yeah, but at the same time, we can be like computers and do logical things on a strict logical basis.
And this is why I don't like the dichotomy.
But
a beautiful poet can be a beautiful scientist.
Without both, you're nowhere. Without both, you're
this is one of the reasons.
Doing nothing.
This is one of the reasons I think homeschooling fails. Is because it's extremely hard to instill both.
Single niche thinking is not the best policy.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah.
And we have about 2 minutes.
Foreign language. Why is that not being taught to kids?
It used to be. I used to have Latin classes.
I used to have Spanish.
I mean, I think with the way the world's going, we're going more and more global every single year. And people say that English is the most important language. Maybe it is, but how could it is? But how could it hurt you to learn Spanish or Chinese? I think those are the most.
Linguists actually
it expands
say
your
it's
brain.
Better.
Yes.
Linguists actually say it's better to learn multiple languages because, let's say I wanted to say a word that cannot be totally described in any other language, Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is not
enjoying the pleasure of others. Yes. I mean,
All right, we have 30 seconds left, so I'm going to call it now. Thank you, everybody here, for joining us. Thank you for anybody who is listening. Please feel free to email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. Follow our Facebook group. Follow our website. Follow our blogs. Find us everywhere on the internet. Feel free to call in next week. I have no idea what the topic is, and we probably won't until a few days beforehand. Thank you again for joining us. We are the Drexel Free Thought Society. Goodbye, and have a lovely day, and educate yourselves. And I have 5 more seconds left. I shouldn't have said goodbye already. Breathing is for squares, unless you want to live. Goodbye.
Oxford did not return.